Well, kia ora, tēnā koutou katoa. It's Rachel Froggatt here, Secretary General of the International Working Group on Women in Sport, and of course here in New Zealand, Chief Executive of Women in Sport Aotearoa. So those of you that have been following us for a while know that we have these really cool little insight bites interviews going on at the moment with our partners at the Trans-Tasman Business Circle. And today we thought we might do something extra special actually, and interview one of our own, which is the first time we've done this. But for many of you, you might have got a bit of a sneak peek that somebody new has joined our team recently. But for those of you that this is new for, I'm absolutely delighted to welcome our new full-time program director, Nicky Vandenbos. Nicky, hello.
Good morning, Rachel. Thank you for the warm welcome.
So you're exactly 2 weeks into the job today. Tell us how many days you actually did in the office before you then got sent home.
I think it was roughly 6 office days, getting used to that environment, and yeah, sent in to get my screen and pack up and move home.
So for those watching from internationally, New Zealand has been doing extraordinarily well in managing COVID-19, and we did not have any community transmission for nearly or just over 100 days, and then we had an outbreak, and our government moved very quickly to put us all back into lockdown and to try to prevent the spread in the community. So not the easiest way to start a brand new job, but Nicky has done extraordinarily well getting herself up to speed, working from home over the last couple of weeks. So perhaps first thing is you're working on the Sport New Zealand Women and Girls Summit. So perhaps tell us a little bit about what you're up to at the moment.
Yeah, it's exciting times, and it's definitely straight into the deep end, which is what I enjoy. But it's the upcoming Sport NZ Women and Girls Summit, in light, I guess, of COVID and everything going on, is going to be a fully digital event with hopefully some physical events too, just pending where we go in relation to COVID. It's 3 afternoon sessions over 3 days, all linked to the Women and Girls Strategy key pillar themes. As far as what we've been doing, really excitingly over the last week, we've been pulling together some incredible people who are really working hard to get an exciting program up and running for anyone that wants to dial in. Next steps, obviously trying to work out how to run a good digital platform so that everyone gets the most out of the event. So I guess over the next few weeks, we'll be telling you lots more and giving little teasers over what's coming up. But certainly I'll be kept busy along with the rest of the team and a lot of other people working behind the scenes. So if you haven't already registered, jump on to the website, register now, and stay tuned for updates.
So you mentioned, a bit of a unique, I guess, setup this year. So last year, people who came along to the event will remember we had a really successful Women and Girls Summit at Te Papa in Wellington. We had over 350 people attend, and it seems like years ago now that we can have events of that size and we can have people gathered like that. So this year's quite unique in the fact that, as you mentioned, we have the national online program, and you sort of mentioned the regional events. What does that mean for people sort of dialing in around New Zealand?
Well, what we're hoping to be able to do, if obviously the status of COVID in the country allows us, is to have people gather in some of these regions. So we're working with 3 regional hosts over the 3 days to be able to run in-person workshops and sessions so that there's a lot of, I guess, thoughts in one room and gathering and talking about topics in one place. However, if you can't attend a region, obviously you'd be able to watch what's happening online. Also, we're hoping that people in other parts of the country that might not necessarily be in the zone of that one regional session would be running little mini satellite events where maybe it's you and your friends or some of your study buddies or people in the office all gathering together to kind of tune into the national and maybe run your own little in-person workshop. So I guess we're just trying to reach as many people as we can in a unique way in light of COVID and make the most of probably quite a tough situation that many people find ourselves in at the moment.
And of course, this has come about through, alert level gathering rule restrictions, but also we're recognising that, people's budgets, people's ability to travel around New Zealand is really challenged at the moment. But at the same time, and we've talked about this a lot since you started, we really strongly believe that the Women and Girls Summit is even more important than ever before to take place this year, because we've seen evidence right across New Zealand and international sport of women's sport and sport for girls taking a disproportionate impact when it comes to COVID-19. So I guess it's it's a really interesting thing that we've been able to do, but also feeds quite well into the IWG World Conference on Women in Sport, which you're also going to be leading from your new role as Program Director. And we're just starting to integrate you now into the planning. So you probably don't have too much of a feel yet for exactly what this is going to look like, but maybe talk to us a little bit about what you've been doing so far.
Yeah, so in the IWG space, I guess at this stage I've been doing a lot of reading material, meeting people and connecting with those that I'll be working closely with. It looks like it's going to be a very busy time for me moving forward, as well as other people, I guess, involved in that. But I guess for the group of people potentially watching this, with the event skills and background I have, I'll be coming in to help run a lot of logistics and operations of what is going to be a fully digital physical hybrid event, and on a global scale, which is a bit of a first for me, as well as probably some other people involved. And it's an opportunity to bring together everyone amongst challenging times to talk about opportunities, continue the conversation. And I'd say for anyone, it's definitely a date in your diary in 2022 to mark now, May 2022, because hopefully, fingers crossed, borders are open and people can come and visit us down here in New Zealand, or at least they can dial in and see what we're up to. So yeah, definitely going to be a very busy 12 to 18 months for me. I can see that happening, and I'm just starting the conversations and really getting my fingers into a few different pies at the moment.
And of course, the IWG World Conference is one of what we're calling the big four women's sports events coming to New Zealand, with the Women's Rugby World Cup next year, the Women's Cricket World Cup in 2022, and of course the big one, the FIFA Women's Football World Cup in 2023. So you're certainly no stranger to delivering massive international events. You've just been head of events at New Zealand Cricket before joining us. So maybe tell us a bit about what you did there and how you think those skills will transfer.
Yep, so head of events at New Zealand Cricket is where I've just come from. At its core, what I was doing was leading a team of not only employees, but colleagues, suppliers and supporters around the country and internationally, I guess, to be able to deliver men's and women's international cricket in New Zealand, broadcast games typically. So working across 10 venues around the country, multiple tours over the last 3 seasons. And our team would look after everything from planning the event to delivering it on the day. So things such as security and ticketing, working with our key partners to execute those functional areas. I guess the skills that I carry across is from transpiring that directly into what we're doing here is multiple balls in the air rolling all at once, having to juggle huge priorities that are all conflicting at the same time, bringing the logistics of something together, and when it comes to actually delivering, the ability to think on your feet pretty quickly and problem solve, because all best events obviously planned to the best they can be, but something will always catch you out, and that's, I guess, what makes an event and just someone special, is the ability to be able to troubleshoot on the fly and come up with solutions, and people are on board with that and make it work for the greater good. So definitely some interesting skills to carry across, but I'm sure there'll be loads to learn, and cricket's taught me a lot in a short space of time that I'm hoping I'll be able to add value to the IWG and also the Sport NZ Women and Girls Summit.
And of course, the IWG World Conference, we talk about it being a bit of a monster because it's enormous. I'm not sure yet that our New Zealand audiences really have a picture of what this is going to be. But over 4 days, we're looking at, if everything goes well with gathering rules, 1,200 people on the ground over 4 days, multiple keynote sessions, breakout groups, side events, parallel events, functions. Really complex kind of weave of activity here on the ground in Auckland. But then layered over the top of that, we're also going to be running a standalone virtual program that will, interlink, sometimes with the physical program, but on its own, stand and need to deliver value. So I think, we're very lucky to have Nicky coming on board to help us navigate a really complex environment. And I think, Nicky, your background as well, you only came home to New Zealand a few years ago, actually. So maybe tell us a bit about what you were doing before you landed back here.
Yeah, so after the first few years work experience in New Zealand, working for Tennis New Zealand back then, decided to take the leap and go overseas, much like a lot of the friends and people I knew at the time. So my mother, I'm quite lucky, is English, so I was able to get a British passport. So went over and spent some time working, living over there. Primarily, obviously, travel was a driver, so we did loads of travel around Europe, even made it over to South Africa, the UAE as well, whilst we were living there. But whilst I was working, I was really fortunate to work in a range of different venues and events around London, and I guess there's some real highlights there, and there's also some huge learnings. I spent a season working in match days at the Tottenham Football Club, and really interesting experience and so different to anything I'd seen before. Alongside that, I tried to maintain my interest in sport and physical, I guess, presence in the game. So I continued to play netball over there for a premier netball club, traveling around on a Sunday on the train to different parts of England and participating, I guess, in quite high level netball. Unfortunately, did an injury while I was doing that, but I guess that didn't stop me, and I bounced back and also did a few other interesting adventures along the way, such as a amateur white collar boxing fight that I don't think we need to go into too much detail on that one for today.
Well, that for the next time we will have a drink together and explain what that was about. So I guess, with your very sort of varied background and the lots of different things that you did, what was it that drew you to Women in Sport Aotearoa, to make that jump from that kind of commercial end, sport environment into very much, a social change and development agency? And what are you hoping to achieve?
So the first I heard of Women in Sport Aotearoa was actually from yourself, Rachel. It was at the launch of the Host City workshop for the Women's Cricket World Cup LOC event. I'd never heard of it before, if I was honest, and so I was definitely intrigued when I was hearing your pitch about kind of what was coming up over the next few years. And I remember writing it down in my journal actually, and coming back and having a little bit of a research session on what it was all about. So over the next 12 months from there, I guess I'd learn a bit more about Women in Sport Aotearoa, what they were all about, and the big work that was coming up, and what was going into behind the scenes, I guess. And that's kind of what started to draw me towards not only Women in Sport Aotearoa, but I guess the whole social change movement that you mentioned there. I started to see the amazing individuals connected to the organisation and the incredible work that not only people individually were doing, but also organisations were doing in support of, I guess, equality, opportunity, and all sorts for women and girls. So a chance to be a part of something that's not only for current females and for everyone really from an inclusivity perspective, but more towards gearing up for the future of young females. And I suppose if I go back, and this is probably links into something I want to achieve, if I go back to when I was young, coming through sports, and I wish at the time I'd kind of been a little bit more pushing on myself to see that there was an opportunity to take that as a career pathway, be it not only an athlete, but a coach or an administrator or someone within the sector. But for whatever reason, I didn't really go into that. So I guess that my hope in here, and kind of the work that I'll hopefully be a part of, and the conversations that will come from the events we hold, the work we do behind the scenes, is that I hope it shows the next generation, not only of females but males as well, that there's opportunities for everyone, and that we can create these, and we can encourage people that it's available to anyone, and it's not, I guess, elitist or exclusive in any way.
And these little chats, they always go so fast, so we're already at the finish line. But I will ask you one more question. I guess, if we fast forward ourselves 2 years from now, and you and I are standing at the finish line of the IWG World Conference, the event itself has just taken place, both physically and virtually, and people are just starting to disperse. And you're looking back at the last 2 years, what are you seeing? What does success look like for you?
Yeah, I guess it's not going to go without its challenges, because COVID has presented such a unique challenge to everyone globally. But I would hope that in 2 years' time, one, I'm not I'm not burnt out. I'm just excited by having run an amazing event with a fantastic team. But I guess that the idea that this event's come together seamlessly. We've had so much interest internationally. We've aspired other people to continue the conversation, or at least to enact their own change, or by hearing other people's stories that they want to move forward with their own progression, whether it's personally or commercially in an organization. I guess success for me would be walking away from that feeling like a job well done, collectively as a team, as well as I mentioned, people taking some good learnings from it, but also New Zealand setting up the next secretariat to move forward and continue the hard work. So not only that though, I guess we've also got a factor, and there is the IWG, but also the Sport NZ Women and Girls Summits. Would like to see them go really successfully over the next 2 years that I'm involved for now, and hope again that future young ones coming up in New Zealand can see how much the game's changing for women and girls in all spaces. So multitude of successes amongst many challenges that not only COVID but other things will bring with it. So it's going to be a tough 2 years, but I'm fairly positive about it.
Oh, well, thank you so much, Nicky. As you've seen me do on a number of occasions, I couldn't be more excited about you joining the team and having a person of your calibre working alongside me. And we have an extensive volunteer network, which we're incredibly proud of and incredibly grateful to as well. We've been speaking to Nicky Vandenbos, brand new Program Director at Women in Sport Aotearoa, responsible for the Sport New Zealand Women and Girls Summit particularly, but also, of course, the monster, the IWG World Conference in May of 2022. This has been our most recent Insight Bite in partnership with the Trans Tasman Business Circle.